gentle fade.
No, we're good. We're good.
Are we?
We're good. We're there. We're there. We're there. We had a brief technical difficulty. It's a nice thing about having a fast computer, though, because reboot, back up, and running.
We'll see how this goes. We're having storms here, so I'm wondering if that's related. So if you hear a low rumble, that's the thunder rumbling through.
Well, welcome to Neo Mix Live.
Yeah, I'm Tamara Neo.
Flux Neo. We have been on a hiatus, and I figure the best way to explain why is just to simply explain it. We've had, what would you call, kind of an emotional time,
Big
period.
Dirty cry. No,
Yes.
we have 3 children.
3.
And one was expected to leave for college, and so that brings its own emotions. It's my first one to leave the nest, and she leaves this week. So I was
this week or next?
Next
week.
Well, it's already Friday, so I guess within the next 7 days. So I was ready for that one. Well, we have another one who they're Irish twins, basically, so they were very close. And she has decided that she knows where she wants to go to college, and she wants to establish residency there in advance and get used to the lay of the land and everything. And we have family there, so it was something that we could possibly do. So we
possibly we're Neos.
We made it happen. So my middle child, my dear sweet middle child, who's probably of the 3 most like me in personality. She's who I will watch old movies with and Disney movies with.
Yes, she got your emotional temperament, but my looks, body type, a lot of Hispanic is evident in her. But she's moved to Arizona now.
They start school there very early.
So, they're on a quarter system.
Yeah. So they started school before the end of July. And we decided this, mid-July. So suddenly we're up, we're packing, we're moving, we're getting the white autistic cat drugged up to take the flight. Yeah. We're taking the Ford.
And nothing against autistic people. The cat is peculiar.
Well, I spent time with that cat through all this time, and that cat is a doll. I love that cat now.
Yeah, I still think she has issues.
She may.
And
not with our daughter.
Beautiful cat, all white.
Oh yeah, one
loves
green
our
eye,
cat,
one blue
or our
eye.
daughter could run around with that cat slung by the tail,
cat loves her.
It would dote on her.
Largely a feral cat, and it took to her, and it puts up with the rest of us.
Yes.
So at any rate, 4 suitcases, the cat, the kid, and me on a plane across the country to a desert.
Not just any desert, Tucson. Now, little background, what's kind of interesting, Tucson's hometown, for me at least. And so it's one of those things, kind of a homecoming in a way. So even though, my daughter's grown up out in the east here in the Appalachian Mountains, her DNA, the blood coursing through her, is very much that of a desert person. Many, many generations of my family have been in Tucson all the way back when it was Mexico, and through the various iterations.
And she clearly identifies.
Yeah, she loves the desert. She loves the desert beauty. Mm-hmm. But when your great grandparents and great grandparents and everybody, you can just see where they lived, where they're buried, and the like. It definitely lets you know where your people come from, if you will. So in a way, it's kind of a homecoming for her. What's I think also funny is that where she is at, Tucson's kind of a basin. It's surrounded by mountains, and up against the foot of one of the mountains, the Rincon Mountains, is a little community called Vail. Mm-hmm. And I grew up literally in the acreage that she's on. That which is directly adjacent to it is the desert I ran around in as a little kid. So the same wash that now my brother, her uncle, owns, is literally where I ran around, and some of my formative years as a little kid were spent there. So it's very endearing on one level, but it's a big deal. And to go from 3 kids, literally in one fell swoop, we're down to just one. It's Very peaceful. I mean, it's very... Oh, gosh. I miss them so much.
I miss them enough for both of us, so don't worry about it.
Well, Tamara went out there, though, to help get us set up.
And I thought, it'll be a week tops. I was out there for 3 weeks, and I probably could have stayed another week to finish everything I wanted to finish. But I've got, we did a lot. We did a lot in that time. Her uncle has this big plot of land and a big house, lovely house. But he's got 3 children of his own and a 4th that's due any day. So it's a cramped house, and we just felt like it would be best if she had her own little space. There were no extra bedrooms. So we ended up doing a search and finding a travel trailer. And have it set up right there. He's got all the hookups necessary for it.
Electric, plumbing, water, the whole 9. So
we took a 2012 travel trailer and did a major update. Although it really was in excellent shape when we bought it. If it was just for you and me, it would have been just stellar.
Well, and you're going to do at least a slide or a video or something like that.
But I'm going to do several videos. I did walls. I painted floors. I dyed carpets. Did you know that you could dye a carpet? I took the valances off and redid the valances. So we took a 2012 brown granny look, to quote my daughter, and updated it to grays, blacks,
granny,
whites.
I'm granny stage in
grays,
her view,
blacks, whites, buffalo check, and cherry. And it is absolutely cute as a button, just like her. So it totally fits her. Yeah. So that'll be in upcoming shows. But what are we talking about today?
Well, at least for today. And so that kind of explains, before we get on, where we've been. It's not
where we're going to be. We won't be here next Friday. Because we're saying goodbye to the second one.
Yeah, our second one's going to be becoming a rat.
Yes, she's matriculating to VMI to become
Virginia
a rat.
Military
That's what they
Institute.
call their students before they break out in February. So basically, it's like a very difficult boot camp.
Difficult. It's basically hazing
and running and pushing up
7
and
months,
not
getting
sleeping
in shape.
and still going to school.
A lot of discipline involved, but she wants it, and I think she's going to excel and prove to make the most of the opportunity to go there.
She's certainly excited about it.
Yeah, so next week we'll be off as well, but I think after that we should be back into a rhythm where we will make sure that we have regular shows, do our live stream. I have tried to keep content going up, if you'll notice. You can find us on YouTube, and because we have hit a little bit of a subscriber milestone, we now can just be found if you go on to youtube.com/C as in channel /Neo Mix Live. You can find us. So you don't have to worry about a gobbledygook URL anymore. It's just youtube.com/C/Neo Mix Live. Okay. So much easier to remember. But nonetheless, it is kind of cool. So thank you for everyone who's subscribed. If you haven't yet, please consider it. It's a big help to kind of grow the station. If you're on Facebook, please like the material that we're doing. We obviously want input and feedback. And I think tonight's show is kind of fun because it's a interesting little cross section of subject matter. But I think it is still, how would you describe it? Very much indicative of our temperaments, but also I think indicative of where we want to take our show, in that we're exploring interesting things. And so I think tonight will be worthy of consideration for anyone who hasn't checked our show out before.
And I didn't have time to do any videos, so we're winging this whole thing today.
I'm not winging it.
You never wing it. This man can stand up and give a tome on anything for an hour and keep going. Me? No, I like the videos, so this will be interesting for me.
But I think that is a good point, meaning that as far as content goes, we each have our respective strengths. And I think that's one of the benefits and I think appeal of doing a show like this, is that, where you tend to be strong, not really my thing, and vice versa.
Kind of that way in work and life.
Yeah. Work works that way, raising kids that way, cooking absolutely that way. But regardless. So as far as what we want to get into, I think it's your turn to go first.
Okay. So I just thought it would be fun. I started thinking about one thing and then another, and then I thought, let's just do an update on everything. So one of our very first shows, we did our garden, and it was actually the 2020 garden, and I think I put up a picture or something like that of our 2021 garden when it was all babies, and it is now grown and overgrown, and I'm already cycling through it, so I thought we'd share a little bit of it. Go ahead and hit that first one for me.
Okay, now this one's a little bit of a video, correct?
Yes, just a little. And it's
Is
not,
there
it's
audio
not one of my
with
fancy
it, or?
videos. I don't think so. I might have spoken. I don't know.
Okay. Well, we'll get this going.
So go ahead and get this going. So this is the garden as it is right now. And you can see that...
Hold on. Let me actually get over to it. There we go.
Oh, nope. You got to go back.
Oh, okay.
So you guys start this from the beginning.
Let me get back over. This is you take a little bit of a hiatus, and this is the stuff that happens. Oh, yeah, hit the button. So let me get this.
So what you're going to start out seeing is I had all these lovely rows of lettuce, and I blew through them. I ate them, and then they started to bolt, and they were completely delicious. So then I got these seeds, and it was supposed to be this mixed mescaline kind of thing, and so I put it in, and I absolutely hated the taste, so I let it just grow, and it's really pretty, and the bugs love it. So, and it seems like it's keeping them off of the rest of the vegetables.
Let me pull those up. Okay.
Okay, so here we go. Now. We're on. Now we're going.
We're good.
There we go. So there's the bug-eaten, strange tasting.
Now that gap wasn't there before.
Yeah, no, that was all the rows of lettuce. But here are the tomatoes. Tomatoes are the funniest thing in our household. I plant less and less tomatoes every year.
That's 4, right? That's only 4 plants.
I'm not even sure if it's 4. It might even be down to 3. And they just explode. To where I just, all I can do is try and keep up. This was a really fun dark cherry tomato that I got at our local greenhouse here.
I've never tasted that, so I'm really interested.
I ate one today just to try it. It tasted like fresh fruit. It tasted tart. I guess it's not completely done growing.
Yeah, I said as much.
These are the zucchinis that I can't keep up with. I took them from somebody who had overgrown them, and I said, well, just give me 2. Just give me 2. And there's my 2. And I think we're on at least zucchini number.
All of that, we had a slew of onions.
We had onions. We
I
had
didn't
potatoes.
Even know what that is.
I was trying to do one of those gourd arches. And I got one gourd to grow. And the gourd it produced was as big as one of my zucchinis. So it would not have ever worked on this crazy arch of mine. And then finally, there's my asparagus. Yeah, and right? that's grown from seed. This is its 2nd year, so it's going to do well.
So how? And the asparagus is interesting. You can't do anything with it the first year, right?
The first 2 years.
Oh, first 2 years.
I think maybe some folks could have gotten something out of my 2nd year, but my first year was really rough. So it took it to get to this point. But now put this up. I can't tell what's up. What's up? Is that up?
That's up.
That is our onion harvest and carrots and zucchinis from 3 weeks ago or 2 weeks ago at this point.
I did not know this, and I will say this is here. Look at. I'm gonna get fancy here for a second. They can see us while we're talking now.
Ooh.
Look at that. But regardless, as you can see in that picture, there are big overgrown zucchinis, and the big overgrown zucchinis, they have big seeds in them, and it's kind of like, what do you do with them? We've taken to cutting the big ones, because this is the problem. You have a garden. Who harvested all those onions?
But I know where you're going with this.
Who cleaned all those onions?
Okay.
But we've taken to cutting the big overgrown zucchinis in half. Thank you. And then burrowing out all of the excess seeds. Mm-hmm. And then once those seeds are out, filling it. And what do you fill it with?
I fill it with the interiors. I take the interiors and I take some of those onions and I fry them up together. And then I add in, let me think, what else do I add in?
What, chorizo?
No, I haven't done it with chorizo. I've done it with ground turkey.
I thought we did one with chorizo.
Nope, ground turkey.
I think the first ones were.
Maybe. I mean, it would
ground
be wonderful
turkey,
if it was. Ground turkey, cheese, a can of, canned tomatoes, cut it up, put it in the oven as a boat filled with this mixture. and sprinkle some cheese on the top. $3.50 for about an hour. You have to blanch the little pieces of the boats for about 2-3 minutes in hot water before you get to that stage. But then, yeah, about 45 minutes in the oven. They're wonderful, absolutely wonderful. Even I like them, and I'm not the biggest zucchini fan, and I've really enjoyed them.
So. No, it's one of those things. It's nice too because it is filling, but there's this freshness to eating the zucchini like that when it's been baked, and the flavors kind of seep into it. So it's a nice way, because this is the problem. We have a garden. Do we have the time to always go and check it out and collect everything from it?
Nope.
Not so much. So taking what does grow after we neglect and forget something, we go out there and we've got these, 3-foot long zucchinis, to know that there's a way to make use of them and save them.
Yeah, the boats are a good way.
Yeah, it's a great option. Now,
so let me show you something else. This is proof to my husband that there was garlic there. Yes. So somewhere along the line of onions, we had 2 rows of onions. There was garlic. And I was gone for 3 weeks, and I come back, and he's got all these gorgeous onions. I'm like, where's the garlic? He's like, what garlic? Like, the garlic.
I didn't see any of this there. And I was very thorough. I pulled up everything that was ready to go.
So I want to know, and I don't know this, do deer eat garlic? Because they've pretty much left my garden alone completely.
No, but zucchini they decided to go after.
Oh, really? Well, they're not going after it very quickly because they're still...
No, because the zucchini are this big.
Yeah. So my garlic just flat out disappeared. But we also had a ton of beautiful, beautiful red potatoes. So
and
those
what are we doing? We're curing
curing
the potatoes right now. We've got them in our basement.
In the basement, cool, covered up to keep the light away from it. Mm-hmm. A couple weeks down there like that. And then
this is my favorite thing each year, is all the potatoes that we get, because I don't know, I'm just a potato fan. But to have them, it's beautiful, the flavor's good, and they keep, so it's one of those things you can maintain. Now, this, I actually, this next slide coming up here, I was mortified when I got home, and I'll explain why here.
Now, which one's up?
This is the...
Oh, this is my iris garden. And I brought irises from Colorado when we arrived. They are at a home that had been my family's home historically.
Your mother brought them.
My mother brought them, yes. At my request.
Threw them all over the lawn.
Okay, so we're not going there. Anyway, after a couple of years, and that can be anywhere from 2 to 5 years, they don't bloom as much, and they start getting real crowded. And so in the summer, July, August, is the time to split them. And so what they have these things, these rhizomes. I don't know if you can see that. This piece right here, this is a very small piece. It's already been broken off. This was the rest of it. They get these gnarly, just all connected kind of root system. And it's called a rhizome. And you very carefully kind of dig them up, separate what you can. And then you check for soft spots, because bearded irises are known for having, kind of, I don't know what it's called, rot probably. And none of mine did. Mine are all very hardy. And you separate them and you cut them off, leaving each part of a rhizome with the leaves. And then you trim the leaves down and you replant it. So that is, and you replant them about 12 inches apart, and that'll give me a solid 2-3 years, maybe even more than that, and hopefully beautiful blooms.
I'll actually flip over here.
That is what's sitting on the front porch.
That's what had me horrified, because the process. Think about it. These came from Colorado. They're this beautiful, beautiful lavender, such a deep, vivid color,
it's a
and
dark purple.
Yes. Oh yeah, actually, true. It is. It is a dark purple. But it's got just this vividness to it that, it's endearing. If you're not like a flower person, it's just such a cool looking thing to have in your yard that, it's appealing to anyone who sees it.
Yeah.
So when I came home and saw this on the deck, I was just like...
He was like,
what did we do?
What happened? What happened? What are you doing? I'm like, what? Oh my God, what's happened?
But needless to say, now we have to find a home for them.
Yeah. Yeah, which is actually part of the fun, is finding new locations for them, giving them away as friends and whatnot. In fact, if you're in my area and you would like some, hit me up.
Message on Facebook.
Yeah, message me and I'll clip them and trim them and get them to you in the next. They should get back into the ground within 4 or 5 days, in my experience. I'll keep them cool. I'll keep them bagged in paper bags so that they're in good shape.
Do you have to moisten them around the bottom at all?
No, not really. It's better that you just kind of let them be.
Okay.
But get them back in the ground in 4 or 5 days.
Okay.
And trim them, and they should be great. Next spring should be good.
Well, the thing that I think is also kind of intriguing about them, when you get these started, like how they're placed right now, they're kind of spaced out. They will like fill in the gaps in that space.
That's that growth, that rhizome.
Yeah. And so, first season it may look a little sparse. By your second, your third, how many years have they been in the ground now that we're finally doing this? Probably 4 years? At least
4 or 5, because Mom was still alive.
Yeah. So it's one of those things. It grows, you thin it, it grows again, you thin it, and it's just kind of this ongoing cycle of maintaining these irises. So it's kind of cool. Not a lot of plants do really have this ability to rejuvenate and continue to grow them.
Actually, no, that's not true at all. Most plants, you can take a cutting and create roots from just a cutting. Plants
like for flowers?
Yes.
What flowers do that?
Anything. You clip a cutting of it and you put it in some rooting solution and it will grow roots.
Okay, well, we might have to experiment.
Yeah.
I think it'd be kind of cool.
Yeah. All right, so go to the next one now.
Okay, hold on. Let me see what the next one is. There we go.
Okay,
sure, hold
so
on.
this is our bees. I wanted to show you where the bee lot is, and actually I think those should have been reversed. So go ahead and go to the second one first, the video first.
No, I'll go this one first.
Okay, well, we're there.
So
there's not much to talk about. That's my bee lot, and I have plans for it.
Okay,
You can see it's completely overgrown with weeds. My guys in suits haven't had a chance to get in there and weed it.
Now, there are things underneath that, though.
Yeah, I have all of my bulbs underneath that.
So all the
tulips
are there.
Usually each year, after the tulips, I plant zinnia seeds, and it's gorgeous with all those zinnia seeds. But you can see it's a lot of work to keep those weeds at bay. And there's one weed called bishop's weed, which is just about the death of me. It just will not die. I don't let people just cut it off. We dig those roots out. The one thing I had hoped to do this year and didn't do it was to cover the ground with cardboard and then put mulch on top of it in an attempt to kill the stuff. And so finally today, this week, I had an epiphany. Sometimes you stop fighting something and you do something different. So I guess we could go to that now, and then we'll go to the bees last. I am going to turn that into a pond, a water garden. It's a beautiful shape. It's perfect. The bees will still be there. I'll have a stable, rock setting for them. And I'm going to use a liner so it can do this sort of, what's the word? Organic form instead of a pre-shaped one.
Sure.
And I'll have a fountain because that water needs to churn in order to keep the bees healthy. It can't be stagnant water.
So you're doing this for the bees or to mitigate the weeds, or is it both?
It's all of the above, and it's for me. It's one more thing to sit and look at and, zen out.
What, a water feature?
Yeah, some kind of water fountain, etc. So, surprise.
Surprise.
That's where that's going in a future episode. But,
and I will qualify this. Usually, when things get like that, I personally, even though I'm not a huge gardener of sorts, I usually will go in and take a stab at that. The dilemma is that the bees don't like you tearing things up right around them. They will sting you. And so I have to suit up when I go and do the actual weeding around it. And I will admit, I've been working a lot lately. And the idea when I'm sitting there in the hot summer day, suiting up to go and gush sweat and hope that the sweat doesn't basically clump down my bee suit so the bees can just punch right through that cotton and get me.
Which we've discovered they can do.
It's gotten a little more out of hand than usual, but it's still rewarding, and I think this is the other benefit of this. Let me pop over here. Let me get that next slide up here. So bear with me, and let's see. Here we are.
It's a video, so get it started.
Yeah, so here.
Our bees are doing beautifully.
You got happy bees.
Healthy, busy, tons of them.
Yes.
So now we've had seasons like this before.
Well, last year was like this. It looked great. Now, this year, I'm doing something a little different. Last year, and bees are kind of interesting. And we talked about this when I first pulled them out and put them into the hive body. If you get a nuke and you pull each successive frame out, you keep them in the same order when you put them into the hive body. And what I do is they'll develop and build, and they clump towards the middle. But I'll cycle the developed frames. And those developed frames, you move them to the outside so that they continue to build in the middle. Last year I did that. And I'm wondering if, because I was still getting it set and trying to mature the hive, that by taking a lot of that core of the hive and moving it out to the exterior,
you disturbed them enough?
That when the cold came and things like that, the way they'd kind of organized themselves, maybe it impacted their ability to clump and how they managed the hive. And I'm just speculating. It's just you try different things, but this year I put them in, put a second stack of the hive body on, and I'm just leaving it. I'm gonna let them go through the winter. We weren't trying to rob them this year. I want to get through a winter where the bees hold up, and then next year put the supers on top, which are the sections where you have the smaller frames where you get some comb built onto it, gets full of honey, and that's what you then can harvest for your own use. We've talked. You should watch some of our other video about it. There's a slew of just great medicinal benefits from honey and the like, but I think we're going to have to probably wait till next year, see if I can get through it. And the cool thing is I love the hobby of beekeeping. It's very cool, but it's also this kind of emotional roller coaster in respects, because you put this time and energy in, and then when they die off,
feels like you've lost a pet.
Yeah, it's kind of like losing a pet that you like and put a fair amount of time and attention into. But regardless, it's just one of those things that we all kind of work through. But needless to say, I think I'm going to just let them be. Get it? Sorry. And in so doing, hopefully they'll get through the winter without much incident or fanfare this year. That's the great hope of everything. But I do want to pivot. And actually, before we do, I do want to pull this up one more time, just briefly, to talk about the hive body there. I talked about the fact that there's this Technoset system that we use. And these are unique because they are, in fact, like a food grade of plastic. So it's not like typical traditional hive bodies. These hive bodies are actually resilient to the weather. They're resilient to a lot of the usual things that you tend to with the wood ones, where you have to paint them and there's maintenance requirements. This, I don't have to deal with that. So whenever I have an issue with the bees, I can just get a new nuke and put it in, and I have to do nothing to address the hive body. So definitely recommend checking out their Technoset. It's a Greek company that makes them. They do lots of different colors and the like. But here we are. How many seasons in?
At least our third, maybe our fourth.
I think this is our fourth season with them, in fact. And you can see the things look great. They stay clean. They're robust, and they're double walled and have insulation in them. So it's just kind of one of those things that's actually very cool, very fun, very, it helps to balance the work of keeping the bees relative to your time. So anything that makes it easier so that you can spend more time enjoying the bees, I'm a fan of.
So speaking of cool and fun.
Okay, so we're moving on.
Woo! Look at
So let me lay a little bit of a foundation here. You know, different people have interests, and if you watch some of our earlier videos, I love firearms. Big firearms guy. I think it's a great skill, a great sport, something that my daughters, my son, the kids have grown up with. So their idea of gun safety and how to properly care for firearms, how to be around them safely. It's something that they just, have grown up and understood. It's important to respect and appreciate. But like anything, you get firearms, you got your pistols, you got your revolver, you got your semi-auto pistol, you get your rifle, you get your, shotgun, you get your military style semi-autos, you get your bolt actions, you get into your long range shooting, you get things that are just interesting. After a while, you open your gun safe and you don't have room for them anymore. And, you can just get a bigger gun safe and keep going, which some people love to do, and I'm a fan of myself. But you hit a point where you're like, okay, for the guy who just kind of already has it all, what's next? What's next? Where do you go to when you still want to be interested in things? So the what's next, and how long ago was it that I first said, you know what? I don't have a sword.
It was 2 or 3 birthdays ago.
Because I do have knives. Big fan of just blade technology in general, and so I have lots of knives, pocket knives, folding knives, straight blades. Kind of interesting, exotic things that are really robust, powerful, resourceful tools for all kinds of situations. Because if you're out and you just need to nip something real quick because you're just in a pinch, having a great little pocket knife is handy. My kids, I make it a point to get them a nice multi-tool, get them a nice Swiss Army knife. Just little convenient things, and if you're growing up around it and you know how to safely handle blades and the like, it really becomes one of those things that you're just, it's useful, it's cool. And
it's almost a rite of passage in this house.
Yeah, it is.
When somebody gets to be a certain age, they get
a blade, and you sit down and have a talk about how to take care of it, how to treat it, how to respect it, how to carry it and manage it when you're around other people. So there's a lot to it, but blades this long
versus this long.
Blades
See if we can get
this
that
long.
All in there.
Now I'm going to start. She's holding this one up. We'll actually get to this one. So the premise and why this is, I think, interesting. When all else fails, blade technology is simply the most resilient resource. You can hunt with blades, home defense. You can use blades for home defense purposes. In all candor, they're quiet, so you can do a lot of things and not be in a position where you're making a real ruckus. Plus, there's a skill associated with properly handling blades, both small ones and big ones. There's a lot of work that goes into them. There's if you believe it or not, there's a very long tradition of people working with sword technology throughout all the world. This isn't particular to just kind of my interest in modern stuff and more recent stuff, but for centuries, this has been a part of the human condition. So I think for somebody that wants to kind of understand the world, understand history, and to understand the role of important features of human history, civilizational defining features of human history, to not be familiar with swords, I think in a way you're kind of missing out on what it is to understand the world that we came from and the world that we're now living in. And some days you wonder if we're going to return to. So that being said, I'm going to start with one, and I'll get into kind of the layout of this thing. And I'm going to get some assistance from Tamara, because these are like sharp sharp.
We know my track record with knives.
No, you just kind of sit upright and keep your hands out of the way. Just put them at your hips.
My very first jury trial as a Commonwealth attorney involved a knife, and in closing arguments, I managed to cut myself.
Close it down on her hand. And they're doing arguments bleeding. Now, you still won.
Oh, yeah. But it was not how I would have pictured my very first jury trial at all. But
so let me go ahead and I want to pull this thing up. This is a unit that's produced by a company, and the name, make of it what you will, but just because they have an interesting name doesn't mean that their product is not first-rate excellent. This is produced by some folks out of Missoula, Montana. It's their company is called Zombie Tools, like zombie apocalypse.
So this
tools.
Would be the where we're going versus the where we've been side of
the world's always changing.
This is where things are headed, right?
Well, quite possibly. I'm not preparing for a zombie apocalypse personally, but when I actually started to research and learn about modern blade technology, these guys are on top of it. They started in 2007. And their whole goal was to make actually fully functional blades that were durable, used the latest and greatest in the way of steel and metallurgy technology. These things are legitimate, and these are serious weapons. They deserve a lot of respect. But Zombie Tools, you can get more information from them at zombietools.net. But this is their Difos unit. It, as you can tell, has... double-sided. The length of this thing overall is 35.5 inches. So this is a substantial piece of hardware. The actual blade length itself is 25.5 inches. Or actually, no, I think this one is just 25 inches. So I'll correct myself there. But this is a cool part. And it does come with its own Kydex sheath when you get it, and so that you can see the handle, that's real leather that they use. They don't skimp on products. Every bit of this thing, it's just shy of 3 pounds. Wife, keep the hands away. It's just shy of 3 pounds, weighing in at 2 pounds and 14 ounces. But you can see it has cool chemical treatments that they've done to it that give it kind of this modern, kind of almost neo-punk, post-apocalyptic look to it.
Looks like it's been in battle.
Oh, yeah. But this is one serious piece of metal. And it isn't something that's a toy. It's not intended to be. But when you think about it, the guy who kind of has everything, and maybe the gal that has everything that they could hope for, but they want to get something interesting. You want to surprise them for Christmas. You want to surprise them for their birthday. And you want to know that this is going to be something that they're going to keep literally forever and care about. It'll be an interesting conversation starter.
How do you clean it?
Clean it, you use special oils. It's interesting when you get into these high grade, and I think this is 5160 grade steel. Very hard. It's got a certain amount of carbon that's embedded in it, and that carbon is living. So you have to take care of it. There are special oils that you get, and it doesn't take a lot of maintenance. If you're comfortable caring for firearms, caring for a good high-grade, high-quality blade is completely within your realm. And it's something that you can, take care of every few months, give it a nice little coat of oil, and the thing will last you a lifetime. You can go ahead and have it sharpened yourself and learn how. Or if you want to contact Zombie Tools, I know that they'd probably be happy to ensure that your blade stays healthy for the long term. But this is one of the
3 pounds.
Well, you've got the sheath on. You've got the sheath on, but yeah, it's 2 pounds 14 ounces when it's unsheathed.
I see.
But this Kydex is first rate. They don't chintz on any of their products. And the cool thing is if you're into any I don't know, what do you call it? Like folks that do Renaissance fairs, things like that. You could, attach things to the kydex to make it more, I guess, time period appropriate. I don't care about that. I actually care about just the quality of the blade, the utility of it, because this is something with this kydex, you could literally strap it onto a pack and take it out with you, and it doesn't matter if if it's held this way or if you have it at an angle, it's secure in there. You have to put some effort into getting it out. So this is like actually a legitimate tool. And if you watch any video of zombie tools, you go hack down a tree with the thing and the blade is impeccable. So it's just one of those things. You can run around with an axe, or you can run around with a high-grade
zombie tool
sword and cut through weeds, cut through whatever you need. You can go the machete route, but the machete...
You can do the B-lot.
Yeah, often just is a one-handed thing. Think about how much more effective you can be if you have two hands hacking through whatever wilderness or environment that you're in. So there is actual utility. It's not just... kind of a fantasy thing. And when you understand, again, the, practical side, it can be a self-defense tool, or the utility side of using it out in the field to either cut down branches, clear space. And it's compact. It's 0.25 inches wide on the blade, and the handles, maybe just over an inch. So it's just one of those things. Now, that to me is a very useful utilitarian blade. But zombie tools, they actually put real time into their work. So if you're going to order one, expect to wait about 8 weeks. And I think you recall that.
Yeah.
You order it, and then you get to be patient, because they will hand make every one of these. They're built to order. So if you have any preferences or interests, you can talk to them, and they will accommodate you. But if you go to their website, this is just a blade they do. They have a whole swath of axes, hatchets, blades of different length, dimension, things that you wouldn't have even thought of, but when you see them, you can actually see a lot of utility because they want these to be functional. So don't let the Zombie Tools name fool you. These guys are first rate. It's American made, and it's something that they take a great deal of pride in. Again, they've been around since 2007, and I don't see them stopping anytime soon. But when you see what they do with their blades, the abuse and punishment that they'll put them through just to demonstrate how serious it is, totally worth it. I'm very proud and very happy to own one. Now talk about this elegant one. Yes. This one speaks to me. And just to provide some context here, let me actually move through here, because I do want to show briefly. This is the Difos unit that Zombie Tools does. To give you a sense of the size, this is one of the guys that works and actually produces these. But he's holding this thing up, and he's probably got to be at least 5'10" or greater in his height, because the way he's gripping it and his relative posture, it's not, he's a little shorter than probably I am, but it's a substantial blade, and it does look very cool. I will not detract from that, but a lot of utility in it. But I do want to move on. This is not what I have, but I wanted to have a good picture to show you another concept of blades. Now, this is clearly what you would call a more traditional blade. This is a katana. These started being produced in feudal Japan in the 14th century. When you hear about samurais and the effort to unify and consolidate the feudal system in Japan, those various families of samurais, these are the weapons that they use. These were a status symbol. And even today in Japan, there's a whole deep tradition, which I don't even presume to know, about how to maintain the respect, how to handle the traditions associated with the maintenance of a katana or samurai sword, or however people want to characterize it. But these are things that you can get very high grade, high quality, modern katanas that you can, put through the ringer, make use of. Again, they're very utilitarian in many respects, but you can just put them through their paces. You can be interested in what I am, which is just get something that's very useful. Or you can look at this as something that's an investment. In Japan, these things, they're $250,000, $500,000, probably $1 million swords out there that are so rare and were produced by these, almost mythological swordsmen who had skills and training and techniques that even today haven't been replicated. Science and metallurgists of today will look at these old swords and just try to ponder, how did they create this thing? Understanding the technology of the time, the patience involved, they cannot discern how they created these resilient, powerful tools that have lasted throughout literally the centuries now. But it's one of those things that, it's a two-handed blade that, as you can see in this picture, this is traditional for a katana. It's a single-sided blade, unlike the Daifos that I showed you from Zombie Tools, which has two sides. This is a single-sided blade. And so from the technique of how people use a single-sided blade versus a two-sided blade, there's a whole psychology about how to do sword fighting, for example, techniques associated with it. So there's actually a lot that goes into it, but until you're handling one of these things and looking at them and literally just putting it in your hands and feeling it, you don't think those thoughts. And so for somebody that's just kind of interested, not just from the standpoint, here, we can pull this one out. And somebody will, probably comment that we're probably blaspheming important traditions. But the point is that you can see that's a big, big blade. This is not a toy at all.
Is this copper at the base?
This is brass, actually. This guard is part of the tradition of a katana. It'll either be round or square, typically. The one in the image here is more of the square form. These are designed to be held with two hands, and I'll actually flip over here and pull the image up. You can see they are designed to be held with two hands. And so the blade that I'm holding here, you can kind of get a sense. Clearly my hands, I would need two hands to fully grasp this. And I don't have big hands, not small, but just kind of average large hands. But when you look at blades like this one's a very well made. This is, again, not a toy. It's got some heft to it. But likewise, when you read and you study and you learn about history, it's interesting to actually hold and see the implements of warfare throughout human history for, centuries. These are things that built entire empires, led to the demise of empires. And so the ability to, hold these things, understand, read about them, learn the traditions of them. It isn't just, fantasy and, ooh, it's cool and, kind of geeky stuff. There's actually a lot of rich traditions around this. I will admit, I do want to get one last sword. It's called a rapier. The distinction with a rapier is that it's a very long sword, and we're talking, 3-4 feet long sword, and it's a very thin sword. Has usually a big handle with a guard on it. But when you see kind of classical European sword fighting stances with one arm,
yes,
what they're trying to do with that thing is jab it into somebody's heart. So they weren't worried about the samurais hacking through maybe some leather armor or plates or things of that nature, or kind of more traditional
Take your head off.
Yeah, kind of like something that you'd think a barbarian, if you will, might find appealing. People in the Iberian Peninsula, old Spanish folks, and it, has traditions outside of that. Italians, a lot of Mediterraneans were very big fans of the rapier because it was a very kind of discreet weapon. Could be hidden easily.
Probably quite light.
Light. And so you could be very agile in your handling of it, but they were just trying to poke you in the heart and kill you. Is
foil another name for those? It seems like
I think so. Yeah. I think so. I learned to just remember the rapier because when you start to get into kind of generic terms versus very specific for a given type of blade, the blade I am interested in is called a rapier. But it is a very long blade. They wanted to stay away. They didn't want to get into hacking or anything. They just wanted to get you in the heart. So when you look at modern sports around sword fighting, they're using kind of a rapier-esque sword. Now, obviously, they're padded up and protected, but that's the skill that they're seeking to develop and cultivate. But even today, it's a sport. It's in the Olympics.
Yeah, has been for a long time. Too.
Has been, and it's kind of one of those novel features. But I think my main point is twofold. One, for the guy that has everything and you just want to get something that even, I don't care how kind of, thorough a guy's hobbies are, you give him a nice sword, he's going to love it. It is so cool, so interesting. But at the same time, the flip side is if you're kind of the history buff, the reader, the thinker, and being able to handle these things and then read about the traditions that these come from, the cultures, the societies, the evolution of ideas around this type of technology, it is very interesting because you're learning about human history in a way that's very much definitive. The sword shaped empires, and to actually hold one and think about it, until you do, it's just in the abstract.
So if I were to give another one of these as a gift, I got to thinking about it. When you give a knife as a gift, you always give $1 with it so that the person can give you back $1 because that's just.
I don't know about this tradition.
You don't know about that?
No.
Ah, yeah, that's how I grew up. Whenever you gave a knife as a gift, you also gave $1 so the person could give you the $1 back, and it was, I don't know, somehow good luck and good use of the knife.
Well, I have a friend, and I'll leave him unnamed unless he wants me to bring him up later. He'll open a blade, he'll hand it to you, but he will not let you close a folding blade. He believes that he needs to personally close it so that he's aware of the condition of the blade when he's handling it from there on out. So people have different ways and traditions. Now, again, Katana has a deep tradition. You could get whole books that just teach you. I'd love to know what the tradition
is around the handle and all that weaving that's going on. Because I noticed,
this is to hold it, but underneath
it's the same one on both your modern picture and your historic picture.
Yeah, but this is how you actually grip it. Underneath, though, because this can be replaced.
Yeah.
So as this gets worn through or dirty, you can go ahead and have it restrung, if you will. Mm-hmm. But underneath are these beautiful ornates. This one has some sort of flower underneath a medallion flower, and you can't really see it per se, but it's brass. But you don't want to handle that because that gets dirty. It could get slick if there's moisture and blood. Mm-hmm. You don't want it slipping out of your hands. So they added this weave to help manage it and keep it controlled if you're in a combat situation. Here, this one has leather. And the leather interesting thing about leather, as it gets moist, it actually becomes grippy.
Yeah.
So, this type of blade, they wanted to go with leather. This one, this one's now obviously a synthetic nylon base, but historically, probably silk. But there's whole traditions around this, and so I think probably what you're describing in how people handle blades, probably much the same in that you go to one part of the world, they have their own traditions, their own norms around it. You go to a different part of the world, and because of the nature of the blade, how it's used, probably a whole other subset of traditions. But I hope, at least by bringing this up, you realize that you talk swords and people think, oh, okay, buddy, whatever you say. Or you talk blades and it's like, no, there's a lot there. And until you actually handle it and look at it, it doesn't really click. But you spend a little time with it, and it's really, it almost like calls to you in this kind of deep way, because you're like, yeah, no, I can see why they got into this.
Okay, buddy.
But I think with that,
I think we're done. Another show in the bag.
We are, and again, we're going to be taking next week off because we have to send our oldest to college, which I'm excited about. I'm excited to watch her grow and become an amazing, wonderful, smart, capable person. Yeah. But at the same time, I can see, you put a lot of time into your family, you put a lot of time into your kids, and to watch them leave the nest. It's.
I think I define myself more as a mother than I do an attorney.
Yeah?
Yeah, I think I do. And so it's very, very hard for me.
Yeah, I've never really thought about that. I think my sentiments are, at least I did enough right that I'm sending them out into the world not worried. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
I figured they've got their intelligence, they've got their education, they're healthy.
Bold.
They're bold kids who are willing to just engage, and they're over us.
Bye. There's no tears on their end. Yeah. Bye.
They're moving forward without us. They're just like, no, we're good. Thank you.
Love you.
Bye.
Bye.
Yeah. So, it's nice. But we will be back the week after that. And I can't think of anything that's going to be taking us out of doing our regular live streams.
Lots of content backed up from all that hiatus time. I've still been recording stuff. So we'll have lots of stuff.
As always, we want to get ideas. If there are things that you're interested in, as you can tell, we're willing to really get out there and talk about some really kind of outside the norm things, but we put a lot of time and thought into it. So if you have show ideas, please let us know. Mm-hmm. As always, please subscribe. Yes. Please like our content. And it helps us grow, and we're going to be very, very disciplined about doing all that we can to grow this channel. We're just getting started here. So, things grow. They evolve. So we want to hear those recommendations so that we can turn this into something that is, appreciated and useful. That's important to me, that people can go learn new things, think about things that maybe they hadn't even considered before, and they themselves grow through our efforts to really kind of delve into some of the fun sides of living.
Yeah, and just have a pleasant, calm conversation with us.
Calm?
I think so.
Is this calm?
Compared to a lot of what I see. And you know what you'll never see on this show? You will never see, hey guys. Oh my gosh. Every YouTube video I see, hey guys. Mm-mm. No. No.
Yeah,
hey
well,
guys.
we're not a hey guys
neither
age
are some
anymore.
I guess we're not.
So I think for a certain peer group, going hey guys is endearing because you're like, hey, we're the same. We're not of that stock anymore.
That YouTube, the big growth area is in folks that are, 40 and above.
Oh.
50 and above.
Oh, you mean us? Yeah. Well, if you're us, hey guys.
Oh gosh.
We can't wait to get back and do some more content for you. So everybody have a good evening. Thank you for spending some time with us. We will see you.
Yeah. Bye.
Mm-hmm.